Welcome back to LTF1,
Now what?
Brazilian GP.
Not done one of these in a very long time, have we?
We haven't. We didn't do one last week. I don't think we did one the week before. We were supposed to have a race preview this week, but I sent Akshay the wrong video. I sent him a video of me getting my lines wrong and then swearing, and then I ran out of time to upload one again before practice. So that was eventful-ish. My hair's a mess today. I should have maybe worn a hat. But even still, moving on. The first incident, turn 1, Carlos Sainz, Lando Norris. Thoughts?
Lando Norris. He's got that one wrong. It happens. He's young. It was just a mistake.
Happy 22nd birthday to him, by the way. We didn't tweet it.
Oh my god! I said he's young. He's older than us.
Yeah, he's 1 year older than us. We're going to be Lando Norris age in just over half a year.
As in, you could just say we're going to be 22 in
just over half a year. Anyway, moving on. The race was very interesting. Mainly the Sky coverage, I mean, rightly so, and understandably so, focused on the battle between Hamilton and Verstappen. And what a great strategic battle it was all the way through.
Yeah, but if we just back up before that, what did you think about the weekend in general in terms of the penalty and then the sprint?
Penalty, harsh but fair, because Mercedes, it was 0.2 millimeters, which is less than a human hair width.
Exactly, that's my... But fine, outside the technical regulations, but really, and what I wasn't... Did you hear that? Probably did.
I did.
What I wasn't so happy about was the coverage in terms of it was made out to be as if like they were gaining seconds by the fact that, you know, their rear wing was bigger than everybody else's and it's opening wider, and it was blown out of proportion, as are many things, but it was blown a bit too far out of proportion in my opinion.
I saw quite a few memes about it, but as Toto Wolff, you know, and obviously he's not going to be the most objective with his explanation afterwards, but he described it as more of a disadvantage to Mercedes, which it might have been. I'm not arguing it, but outside the technical limitation, the regulation, is outside the regulations. So,
and it seems to me,
I thought it was harsh though. They're disqualified for 0.2 millimeters.
Yeah, and it also seems like the way in which the gap between the wing is measured is a bit like comically over-engineered as well. I'm not sure if you're watching Ted trying to explain.
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah,
it is just a bit like, can you not just simplify it? I think F1 could gain a lot from just not being...
Could they not just use a 30 centimeter ruler and measure up to 8.5 centimeters?
Well, no, because then if he was a human hair out, they wouldn't know, would they?
Well, get a more precise ruler then.
But yeah, the penalty was kind of like, it was coming, fair enough, whatever. But then Hamilton's drive back this weekend.
Yes, that was Hamilton that I feel like I've not seen for a while this season, because there's been a couple of times this year where, say it's been Verstappen on pole, Hamilton second, and Verstappen sort of got away after turn 1. But Hamilton looked like young Hamilton today. When I think it was China 2008, maybe his race start. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Well, Australia 2007, going around the outside of Alonso in his first race.
Yes. It was
fire that came back.
It was very much like watching a 22-year-old-ish Hamilton back then. It was,
Without Hamilton, without Hamilton, the sprint race was shit. And this is going to be taken as a reason to take the sprint races forward and do more of them, because look how much excitement we had this weekend. But bar Hamilton coming through, there was nothing in that sprint race. And then even you don't agree.
I don't agree, no. I quite like them. I quite like sprint races. I know from what I've seen on Twitter, it's quite mixed, the opinion on it. There's some people that love it, some people that hate it, but I quite like it. I think it's good. I think it's nice to see, especially for, if you think about it, people are paid to be there to see a bit of extra racing on a Saturday. You know, because if, for example, you know, someone's just got tickets for Saturday, like I think you just had tickets for Friday. If you got to see a race that day as well, albeit a shorter race, it would still be a bit of added excitement to the weekend. And I think that's more why they're doing it, as more value for money for your ticket rather than.
Yeah, but I don't think the value for money is going to stay around much longer. From next, obviously, when we came into this season, we knew sprint races were going to happen, but we didn't know what the format would look like. We didn't know where qualifying would slot in, etc. Now that they know where everything's going to be, Friday tickets aren't going to be as cheap as they used to be. They're going to put the prices up because now you're getting to see qualifying. So you're going to pay Saturday prices for Friday and then Sunday prices for Saturday, probably.
Well, this is F1, where when I went to Silverstone for a poncho, it was like £25 for a bit of plastic with a hole in the middle.
Exactly.
Everything's a rip-off. So yeah, you're not going to get anything cheap or free with F1.
I just don't think the sprint races are different enough. It just reverse the grid. Make it non-championship if it has to be non-championship, or half points or whatever, but just reverse the grid.
If they potentially ran a sprint championship alongside the drivers' championship and the constructors'
I heard today there were talks of.
Was there?
Apparently a sprint champion next year.
Yeah.
I think the race made a video about it. A sprint champion for next year.
Yeah, if they did something like that, it might add a bit more spice to it as I suggested earlier in the season, just before Silverstone, and I suggested it in a written piece before that on LTF1official.com, check it out, is that I said if they run it as a junior driver, the two most promising junior drivers, in maybe the season before's F1 car, so it's a step up, and they run it as a separate championship. It's a step up from F2. It's like F1.5.
Yeah.
Excuse F1.5 is different from that.
If you've mentioned F1.5, does that mean this won't get taken down from Reddit?
They'll probably find a way to take it down.
I don't know if you know, but we're actually banned. LTF1 is on the list of banned sites.
Go on. Self-promotion.
Yeah, because if someone writes a decent article for us, we're not allowed to promote it. But anyways,
because of a nerdy anorak that really hates people sharing their work they put time and effort into. Anyway, moving on. Yes.
The Max and Lewis fight. So we've agreed Lewis has been driver of the weekend. Massa said it in the posting interviews, and he saw the weekend. First of all, where's this Mercedes pace come from? Because
the new power unit.
Yeah, but that much from a new power unit, like a second a lap. He was flying.
We were very much looked. It looked as if W12 had been kidnapped and replaced with W10 this weekend.
Exactly. We're not on W13.
No, 12.
Okay.
I thought that as well not long ago. Then I realised it's only W. I really felt as if last season was W12, but it wasn't. It was W11.
Okay. Yeah, and then Lewis finally catches up to the back of Max, making literally everyone else in the field look like they were junior drivers or driving F2 cars. He gets to the back of Max, and I was watching the race with a friend, and I goes to my friend, I goes, he's behind Max now. And for me, I think he's not going to be able to get past because the two options are crash or stay behind. I don't think Max is going to let him pass without. I think Max would rather crash into him than let him go. And we almost happened.
It's like we saw on lap 48. I thought it should have been a penalty, personally. I may be biased, but whatever. But there was no way when, I forget which turn it was it 7 or 9 or something? I can't remember which. Maybe
when he pushed him?
Yes.
Turn 4.
Was it turn 4?
Turn 4.
Oh, it's turn 4 then. Yeah, it was, wasn't it? But either way, Verstappen gave him no room. He didn't push him objectively in the sense of force him off the track, but he left him just enough room, then shut the door just in time that Hamilton would have to run wide, and he also ran off as well.
Yeah, see, that's not. I'm not against the shut the door and make Hamilton run wide. That's fine. Great racing. Want to see it. Well, it's not great racing, but still want to see it. It was exciting, but only if he can make the corner afterwards. The fact that Max also then couldn't make the corner tells me he's gone too far. And I think most of the pundits and that agreed that he probably should have got something. But I'm also of the opinion that 5-second penalty probably would have been too harsh.
Yeah.
We need an in-between. There needs to be a 3-second.
A 2.5 second penalty.
2.5 second penalty. Because a 5-second penalty at that point would have put him behind Bottas, even though we'll get onto that later, and that would have been too much. There needs to be just a little slap on the wrist penalty, not a 50k fine, because we know that doesn't do anything.
I think it was 7 or 8 laps later, Verstappen got a warning for zigzagging across the straight, and he said something along the lines of, "Yeah, whatever, tell them I said hi," which made me laugh.
There's a lot of sarcasm over team radio today from Massey, from Wheatley, from everyone. Yeah,
I thought this season, for a majority of the season, Max Verstappen's been bulletproof.
Yeah.
But today I was saying, when I was watching the race at the end, that this is the first time in a while I've seen Verstappen look vulnerable at all.
He looked vulnerable. He looked scared. Out in front, the language, the demeanor, the driving, everything, he just looked scared. He knew that it wasn't going to happen. And last season, Verstappen, well, I guess everyone accepted that Mercedes was the fastest car. They were going to win nearly every race. And since last year, I don't think I've seen Verstappen look shaken at all by the Mercedes, apart from Bahrain at the start. Was it? Which race was the first one this season? Bahrain.
It was Bahrain. It was, wasn't it? Apart from in Bahrain, when he's forced to give the position back to Hamilton. And Silverstone, he didn't really, because he won the sprint race, but then there was the crash, which is a separate video altogether. We discussed it.
That's the video you're looking for.
Yes, it is. Go and watch it. But since then, I've not seen Verstappen look shaken or particularly worried. And today was the first time.
But that's just because the roles have reversed so heavily this season. Normally it'd be Mercedes leading for most of the season, then Red Bull coming back towards the end. And this time we've had a complete role reversal. The only difference is usually by this point Mercedes have wrapped it up, whereas Verstappen's had a few DNFs. Not his fault for the most part. He's had a few DNFs and he's not been able to wrap it up. Even though with 9 wins, we shouldn't be questioning whether he's going to win the championship or not. He should be pretty nailed on. But yeah, it's going to be an exciting run to the flag.
I think that's also a testament to how good Lewis Hamilton is, though. The fact that he's not let in a car that's, and to calling a spade, a car that is inferior to Max Verstappen's for a majority of the season on the majority of tracks. And the fact that Lewis Hamilton hasn't sort of let him slip away over the course of the races, I think just shows how good he is.
Yeah. And I think he's going to get him. I think he might just get him.
Yeah, I think it's going to go down to the last race of the season, and I really hope it does.
I want to see Abu Dhabi 2016. I want to see the same sort of position where maybe, I don't know, maybe Bottas is slowing the race down to let Lewis get by or something, or not that he can. Let's get on to Bottas now that we're here. I'll organically reach Bottas in his shit performance this week.
Very quickly. I was just going to add to what you said. I was going to say, I'm really hoping we get something similar to Brazil 2008. That'd be really cool if we did.
Oh, that would be cool. Russell moves out the way.
Yeah. As you were saying, go on.
Bottas. Absolute. No one can tell me anything. Oh, you're not being nice to him. Fuck off. That was a shit performance. You can't be that far behind your team. Like, what was he doing? If not for that virtual safety car, he's finishing that race behind Perez in a car that is clearly dominant on this track.
Wow. I will give Bottas some credit here.
Oh, he moved out of the way very nicely. Well done.
It was because if every race was 24 laps, he might win the Drivers' Championship.
He did great yesterday.
He did.
He did.
He did really well he was on softs. Yes, on Saturday. He managed his tyres fairly well. I know it was only 24 laps, but that's a fairly long stint for the softs at Brazil in the heat.
Yeah, no, he did an amazing job, and I'm pretty sure I sent a message saying, "Wow, uncharacteristic from Bottas."
Yeah,
controlled that well. Today he just fell apart.
Yeah, it was turn 1 and I think turn 4 or turn 3, where first he got a bad start. Verstappen got around him, which I sort of expected, and then I wasn't expecting him to run wide again. He locked up on turn 3 or 4, I can't remember which, and Perez got around him too.
Yeah.
And after that, I know team orders and they wanted Lewis Hamilton ahead, but after that he disappeared. He didn't agree with the strategy. I at the time didn't, but in the end I think it was right.
I don't think the strategy for Bottas was right, because Bottas can't do what Lewis can do, clearly. That strategy relied on having a 7-time world champion.
Yeah.
Or even a 7-time. That strategy relied on having, I don't know, someone with balls, confident. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, but Bottas, in fairness to him, he pushed well at the end, but it was too little too late by that point. He finished the race 3.9 seconds behind Verstappen, I believe. And if he had
too little too late.
If he had pushed 5 or 6 laps earlier, maybe risked his tyres a bit, but pushed, he could have potentially, cut down the gap even further. But yeah, it does seem to be, if he's not having bad luck, he said it himself not long ago. He said the difference between me and Lewis Hamilton is that Lewis Hamilton has fewer bad weekends than I do. And it was another slight disappointment for Bottas.
The difference between me and Lewis Hamilton is Lewis Hamilton's slightly better at driving a car than I am. What? That was like if I was fit, I'd be an Olympian. That's
yeah. But that's just it. Bottas, it's just been his story at Mercedes so far. Is if I'd pushed a bit earlier, I would have been better, but I didn't.
We weren't supposed to slander him for that long.
It wasn't slander, it's honest. It's the truth. I like him as a person. I'm sure he's very nice. He comes across as a good person.
Yeah. Whenever we're slagging them off, we're not slagging them off. We're just slagging their performances off.
Yeah. I think it's the right move for him to move to Alfa Romeo next season.
And I hope he does well there. I hope he does a Gasly from Red Bull. Yeah. Bottas world champion 2022, I wouldn't even mind.
Imagine if Alfa Romeo come out the blocks with the best car next year.
If Ferrari let that happen, I'd be very surprised. Ferrari I don't know what they'd do. They just take their engines back. When you're playing with a football and that person's team not winning, they just take the football and go home. That's what Ferrari. So with the world feed not showing much more than Lewis and Max, I'm not sure what else happened.
There was a bit of, not drama, but a bit of action between Vettel and Ricciardo at one point. I think Ricciardo got past Vettel, then Vettel got past Ricciardo, then Ricciardo got past Vettel again. It was 3 or 4 overtakes on like maybe 2 laps. Gasly, he had a good overtake on someone. I can't remember who it was though.
Ocon. I saw that.
Ocon, yeah,
that was tight.
Yeah, the Formula 1.5 we'll talk about next.
Okay.
What's your predictions for the Formula 1.5 championship?
Ferrari have picked up a massive amount of points this weekend.
Yeah. In my unreleased weekend preview, I was just saying McLaren have dropped off massively recently.
I think they've dropped off. It's just, I think Ferrari just found that much of a gain.
But I would also say that McLaren have dropped off. Danny Ricciardo, he's had a couple of good races this season, but I guess it has been his sort of overall level so far at McLaren. But they were saying recently that the car's looking more suited to Ricciardo recently, and I know he had to retire due to some sort of mechanical issues. But either way, he was doing well, but not amazingly. And Lando punctured, which I agree with you. I think it was a what's the word I'm looking for? A poorly timed move, I'd say.
Yeah, it was the first time. It was a first lap thing. Just
yeah. But yeah, Ferrari just looked dominant. So for me, I think Ferrari are going to hold out as the dominant Formula 1.5 team till the end of the season. And yeah, I think McLaren second. AlphaTauri is being dragged along by Gasly at the minute. I love Yuki Tsunoda.
Here's the thing: AlphaTauri is not being dragged along by Gasly. Hear me out.
Go on.
AlphaTauri, I think, have an amazing car.
Yes.
I think they have top of the midfield. I think they have the car to get fourth or even third if it's being driven properly. Because if you go back and you watch, no, it's not going to happen. If you go back and you watch our interview with Adam, who works as an engineer for Toro Rosso, after that finished recording, and we were just chatting afterwards, he said, watch out for AlphaTauri. They're going to be a force. And then Bahrain testing came around and we all thought they're looking good. And then they just dropped off with Tsunoda having troubles and Gasly fighting by himself against all the other teams. It was never going to happen. But if Gasly has someone there with him fighting, then I think AlphaTauri could easily secure fifth, and maybe would have pushed for fourth. I think they'd be there in that fight with McLaren and Ferrari because I think the car's got the pace in it.
Yeah, I do agree. But I more meant that they're being dragged along by Gasly, as in points-wise.
Yeah.
Because it's like a single income household at the minute. Gasly is very much a breadwinner. Yuki Tsunoda's out there applying for jobs, looking for stuff, and getting rejected everywhere he applies. And yeah, I think Tsunoda, maybe it was a year too early for him, but I really like him. I think he's got the aggression down to a T, but the actual everything else with the driving just looks a bit lacking at the minute. So hopefully, maybe another year at AlphaTauri will do it for him, and he'll start to pop off.
Hopefully, with the new cars, everybody sort of having to start from square one again, he should.
Yeah. I agree. And lastly, I tweeted about the end of the race. It was a solid under the radar drive from George Russell today. Started P18, finished P13.
No points, doesn't matter.
A good drive's a good drive, points or no points.
I really don't understand how they have the motivation to, like, I don't know how the Haas drivers get around.
No, I don't. If I was Mick Schumacher today, after he pitted, I would have just got out of my car in the pits, walked off, and said, "What difference does it make?"
That's the difference between us and them, I guess.
I don't know why they get the motivation to get no points and to drive around 71 laps for no reason.
19 positions in points paying places.
Well, I think that about wraps up the weekend.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
It doesn't.
What's next?
This could be the most interesting part of the video.
I
don't know if you've seen on Twitter and Reddit and places, people saying that Mercedes have done what Ferrari were doing in 2019.
Oh yeah, I did see some people saying that. Yeah.
From.
What's your thoughts?
No, they're not doing that.
I don't think so.
The only reason I think they're not doing that is why would you wait to the last 4 races of the season? Why would you not do it a bit earlier?
Maybe to hide your crimes.
No, because it's more suspect randomly turning up for the last 4 races. If they did it like halfway through the season or something and just blamed it on a update package or something like that. But yeah,
I don't agree.
Salty microphones, I think it is.
Yeah. So I think that about wraps up the weekend. Thank you all for watching, all of you that do, all of you that made it this far, all 3 of you. Thank you for watching. You can follow us on Twitter, LTF1 Official, and the same on Instagram, LTF1 Official. And yeah, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. I have a couple of ideas for videos during the week. Stay tuned.
What are your
Thank you for
ideas?
watching. I'm not going to tell everyone on camera because I've got to wait. And
What?
someone might copy us. Jules might make a channel and copy us. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time. Donate to our Patreon. We need money. Thank you. Goodbye.
Yeah. What are
You
you?
have 2 ideas for videos. Okay, so my first idea